Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gauranga Nityananda, Jaya Gauranga Nityananda. Jaya Gauranga Nityananda, Gauranga Nityananda. Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Okay. All right, so we'll read a little bit from Chaitanya Bhagavat today. See where it all goes. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Sri Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhaktavinda. Alright, so let's read from Chaitanya Bhagavat, and we'll read, Mahaprabhu began to express himself to the outside world. Let's see what that means. Express himself. 64. Madhya Lila, Chapter 1. All glories to Lord Vishwambara, the crest jewel among the Brahmanas, and all glories to the beloved associates of Lord Vishwambara. All glories to Lord Gaurachandra, a stalwart amongst all religious preachers, the safe bridge to the spiritual sky. He has fully subdued his physical and mental urges. All glories to him. He possesses incomparable beauty, and is the embodiment of congregational chanting of the holy name of God. All glories to Lord Gaurachandra, for he is the dearest friend in life of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, and the sublime object of love for Gaurahari Pandit and Advaita Acharya Prabhu. He is very dear to Jagadananda Pandit and the tender loving heart of Akrishwar Pandit and Kashishwar. He is the Lord and Master of Srinivas and other beloved associates. O Lord, kindly look upon the living entities with divine benevolence. The descriptions recorded in Madhyakanda are like streams of nectar. When it pours out into the ears, it melts the granite-like doubts and atheistic thoughts in the deep recesses of the heart. Please listen attentively with unflinching faith in the narration of Madhyakanda, describing the beginning of the congregational chanting of the holy name. The entire township of Navadvip offered jubilant and loud welcome to the Lord, who had just returned from Gaya Dham. Friends and relatives rushed to meet the Lord. The Lord spoke sweetly to everyone, and they were overjoyed to see Lord Vishwambara's return. They all accompanied the Lord, many of them going in front of him, and brought him to his house. And he began narrating the experiences of his pilgrimage. The Lord said, "Because all of your blessings and good wishes, I could visit Gaya Dham and return without any difficulties." The Lord spoke very humbly, pleasing everyone, and they were very impressed to see the Lord's humility. The senior members touched the Lord's head and blessed him with a long life. Others touched different parts of his body and chanted mantras for his protection. Others put their heads on his breast and invoked the mercy of Lord Govinda and Sita Devi. No one could describe the joy of Mother Sachi experienced when she saw her son had returned. Lakshmi Devi glowed with happiness by seeing her Lord's face, and the cloud of loneliness had dissipated. Lakshmi Devi, Mother Sachi experienced when she saw her son had nobody could describe the joy Mother Sachi experienced when she saw her son had returned. Lakshmi Devi glowed with happiness by seeing her Lord's face, and the cloud of loneliness had dissipated. The joyous news spread to his in-laws' house and touched them with jubilation. The Vaishnavas were specially happy, and they ran to see the Lord. To everyone the Lord spoke very humbly and softly. Taking leave of them, he returned to his room. He took a handful of his intimate disciples and went inside to discuss more confidential topics about his pilgrimage to Gaya. The Lord said, "My dear friends, I want to describe to you the wonderful places that constantly reminded me of Lord Krishna. As soon as I entered Gaya, I heard the auspicious sounds of chanting and the conch shells and bells. Hundreds and hundreds of Brahmin priests were chanting from the Vedas and were glorifying the lotus feet of Lord Krishna and his place of pilgrimage, where the Lord left his lotus feet impression. They said, 'Welcome to the holy spot where the Lord washed his lotus feet.' In previous ages, when Lord Krishna visited Gaya, he washed his transcendental lotus feet. Mother Ganga has become glorious and holy by the touch of the water from the lotus feet of the Lord. And Lord Shiva holds that water on his head with the full realization that this is the water from the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, and that is why this place of pilgrimage has become one of the holiest and is known as Padma Tirtha, or the pilgrimage where the Lord left the waters of his lotus feet. As soon as the Lord repeated the name Gayadam, or Padmanabha Tirtha, he remembered the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Incessant streams of tears poured down from his eyes. The Lord became extremely restless, unable to control his spiritual emotions. He began crying out the name Lord Krishna. So profuse were his tears of love of God that it watered an entire flower garden. He sighed deeply, repeating Krishna's name. His whole body was covered with horripilation. He could not control himself any more. He shivered like an autumn leaf. Srimad Pandit and other devotees present were astounded at seeing this wonderful manifestation of love of Krishna. The devotees could not remain unaffected. Tears swelled up in their eyes and flowed freely and unrestrained, as if Mother Ganga had found another course. They all thought in their minds, how wonderful this sight is. We have never seen the Lord acting like this. This must be the great mercy of Lord Krishna, that he had allowed us to see such great spiritual emotions. After a while, the Lord became still, and external consciousness returned to him. It's interesting, I find, is like the devotees feel that they're quite blessed to see spiritual emotions. Because it's actually a rare thing. It's even nowadays, people, they don't understand the value of spiritual ecstasy and bliss and all of that kind of stuff. And to me, this has always been like a very important part of my life, is this bliss and this ecstasy. Just like the devotees, they treasured this. And even back then, it was a very rare occurrence. Like when the Lord first started manifesting these spiritual emotions, people thought he was crazy. Just like now, if any person is chanting the divine names of God, and they start to exhibit bodily symptoms, if this happens spontaneously and they're genuine, people think they're a person. Well, we've never seen this. Okay? So Lord Chaitanya was the first to start. He started like a precedent, that where it would started to show that this is okay, and he started to teach the value of bhakti, value of devotional service, what it can actually contribute to people's lives, and add value to that. Because previously, very few people understood this bhakti, this kind of ecstasy. And actually, after Lord Chaitanya left, gradually this kind of devotion started to kind of like become rare again, rarely seen. And if you notice the potency of all spiritual movements, we could even use the examples in Christianity. They're moved forward by those who are actually ecstatic. Like Saint Francis was known to be an ecstatic devotee of God in the Christian sector, and actually he developed quite a following. A lot of people became very attracted. Lord Chaitanya was like this. Paul also, he was known to be out of his mind for God. This is another symptom of devotional ecstasy. And he even said, sometimes we're out of our minds for God. We're in the Holy Spirit like this. And it's very intoxicating. And this is very valuable, very important, actually. See? Most people, they go through their whole lives and don't experience bliss and devotional ecstasy. They have some other tastes. When you start to get experiences of bliss, now we start to go into a liberated state, liberated from worldly consciousness. And even now, it's still a rare thing. You don't see, if you look on movies and TV, you don't see any examples much of this kind of um, these kinds of shows. They're all still to do with human level of, lots of movies with envies and jealousies as the plots, and revenge. You notice that? Material romance. This is life, material life, but when you start to experience the liberated plane of existence, you start to get into states of consciousness of bliss, ecstasy, see, this kind of rapture. Like this. So Lord Chaitanya came to teach about these states of consciousness, and it's called Bhakti, Bhakti Yoga. So to everyone the Lord spoke very humbly and softly, and taking leave of them, returned to his room. He took a handful of his intimate disciples and went inside to discuss more confidential topics about his pilgrimage to Gaya. The Lord said, "My dear friends, I want to describe to you the wonderful places that constantly reminded me of Lord Krishna." Did I read this already? No? Okay, good. I heard the auspicious sounds of chanting and conch shells and bells. Hundreds and hundreds of Brahmin priests were chanting from the Vedas and were glorifying the lotus feet of Lord Krishna and his place of pilgrimage where the Lord's left his lotus feet impression. I think I did read it. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You hear it again too. Okay, I'm just going to go on to the next paragraph anyway. So Srimad Pandit and the other devotees present were astounded at seeing this wonderful manifestation of love of Krishna. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay, I'm going to go on more because we read that too. After a while, the Lord became still, and external consciousness returned to him. He began to speak again. "My dear friends, please return to your homes today, but I want to see you all tomorrow again and discuss very confidentially. I want to disclose the deep sadness in my heart. Um, Come to Suklambara Brahmachari's house with Murari and Sadashiva." Everyone returned to their houses, and the Lord became engrossed in his own world. The spirit of love of Godhead had now come into the body of the Lord, and he had lost all taste for anything mundane. Mother Sachi could not understand this new transformation that had overcome her son, but nevertheless she was happy just to have him near her. She saw her son crying out Krishna's name, and tears of love of Godhead flowed profusely from his eyes. The Lord cried out, "Where is my beloved Krishna? Where is my beloved Krishna?" This increased his mood of separation and love of. All such activities of the Lord were incomprehensible to Mother Sachi. So in great awe, with folded hands, she prayed for the shelter of Lord Govinda. The time had dawned when Lord Chaitanya was to reveal his real identity, and the entire universe swayed with the waves of joy. News spread to all the devotees of the Lord. The Lord Chaitanya was constantly shedding tears of love of Godhead, and so they all ran to meet him. All the Vaishnavas visited the Lord. The Lord treated them humbly and spoke with everyone. He requested the Vaishnavas, "Please come and meet me in Suklambara Brahmachari's house tomorrow." I want to open my grief-laden heart to all of you. Shriman Pandit was extremely happy when he saw this wonderful transformation in the Lord. You notice Lord Chaitanya's teaching here already. He says, I want to open my grief-laden heart to all of you. And the devotees become very happy about this. Have you ever, you ever listened to people who want to share their problems and their grief and unhappiness, especially for a long time? Like this conversation of this grief probably went on for hours. It's not something, maybe we can take sympathize with people for a while, but have you ever felt like, you listen to people complaining and how, they're in problems and, just, you meditate on it. It's a miserable thing. It's quite a miserable thing. But Bhakti Yoga, this is such an amazing thing, is because the grief that a devotee experiences in separation is ecstatic. I mean, even though there's tears there and there's talks about, oh, where is Krishna and all of this, if anybody experiences that, this is very fortunate. See, I think those who are doing devotional service understand that the way these waves of separation are initiated, it begins with this connection and communion with the Lord, usually by chanting or mantras or by associating with devotees. You start to feel this bliss. You start to feel raised up. You start to feel free of suffering. See? And even though it may not be to the extent of where you're so ecstatic that you're shaken and tears are coming and all of this goodies, good stuff, but still your consciousness is being raised above the human platform of existence, and even that causes a separation. And you might think, and this is where a lot of people often misunderstand bhakti, is this is like, oh, I don't, where is this? Where did it go? And you start to lament, and you think it's a bad thing. Or you feel you're not connecting. So you feel like, where's the connection? I can't connect. See? But it's meant to be like that, because that means the desire for devotion and bhakti and communion with God has been initiated. And this usually happens by associating with devotees who are ecstatic. See? Associating with ecstatic devotees, you'll find that you'll feel some kind of upliftment to some level, some kind of bliss, and then you might feel like, well, where did it go? But it's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. This is what brings the Lord closer and is the beginning of developing a relationship that is completely spiritual. It's one's spiritual body is being activated. Okay? If one does not experience some level of ecstatic bliss, they cannot activate your spiritual body by being close to them. So, and that's, the ecstatic devotion and bliss is quite rare, actually. It's even now, it's still rare. People still don't know its value. Okay? But just by being close to devotees who have it, it's something that you always want. I mean, in my own experience, in our teaching here at Temple of Heart, I got away from doing devotional service, and I got into some other things, and this happens sometimes, and to devotees, they go off in another path, and not everybody, but I did. That's been my way. And I went to Christ and Jesus for a while, and I'm still with Christ, because Christ is quite ecstatic also. And there's a lot more ecstatic Christians, actually, than there are Vaishnavas at this time. So, anyway, I went into that, and many of my friends, I'm finding, were missing this kind of transmission, this kind of association, where we talk a lot about Lord Chaitanya, and the devotees of his time in that era, because it's where that bhakti is, that kind of bhakti. It's a kind of an unusual transmission in this world. See? So they miss this naturally. See, after getting even a little taste of it, they want it, So, and that's how powerful this kind of devotional service is. It can begin to initiate these kinds of liberated experiences, liberated states of consciousness. Even just a little bit of a taste is really good, because then you start to want more of God. See, and generally people don't have a desire for a transcendental connection with God. See, God is, I'd like to go into this a little bit because it's quite interesting and quite important. Um, in a sense, everything in this world is composed of God's energy and substance. So it's like everything comes from his body. See, like this. So generally in the world we have experience and a bonding and a connection with God in his material form. See, and like the material world. And even in the more like the inner world of personality and qualities like this, of feelings and mental mind, this is what we bond with in this world, but it's still not spiritual. There's really no bliss in this yet. You can get like feelings of happiness and distress and feelings of so many like human emotions by interacting with human beings whose consciousness has not been really spiritually awakened yet. But uh, that's not really developing a relationship with God in his spiritual form. And that is so important. This is what liberates the soul from material existence, is to reestablish this spiritual connection where you start to feel like you feel with, like if you get attached to a man or a woman or money or anything in this world, then you go towards that and you bond with that, and then when it's not there you feel a separation. It's painful also. See, like this. Well, we're actually ultimately meant to do this with God's spiritual form, which is subtle, more subtle than the subtlest thing. See, more subtle than the material emotional body or material thought. It's beyond all of that. And this is what liberates the soul, and this is why the Jesus has come here, and Lord Chaitanya and the Krishna and the Ram, because they're spiritual beings and they come into this world so that we can bond with them. See, so, and this bond is spiritual. It initiates this relationship, which is completely spiritual. It's just like we develop a relationship with people in the world, and we bond with them. We become closer. We become more intimate. See, but there's the downside of that. This is what keeps us in this world, keeps us incarnating life after life. We have to begin to bond with God in his spiritual form and energy. And that's why the bhaktas come here. That's why the devotees come here and 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 cause us, and they kind of jumpstart our spiritual body so that we start this bonding with the spiritual form of God. And this comes into an interesting point, is there's a lot of misunderstanding about Jesus, and I had this misunderstanding too, and many people do, because like in the Bible, it says that Jesus said that I'm the way, the life, and the truth, and no one comes unto the Father but by me. Now, people, superficially, you might think this means Jesus is saying this is an exclusive way of going to connect with the Father. You have to go through Jesus. But if you take his statement into the deeper understanding of what the more clear understanding of it, it's not meant to be that Jesus is here to create a monopoly, and that God is not going to connect us in other ways, and maybe even in deeper ways, by understanding the principle. See, the principle is we must go through those who have devotion. See, their spiritual body is activated, and being close to those whose spiritual body is activated activates ours. See, that's what it's to me. It's very clear. That's what Jesus was driving at. That's not to make him like himself as the only way, and that's okay, because all you need is one devotee who is connected to God to make it to God. You have to go through the devotee because they're the ones who activate our spiritual body. See, we get an experience that is beyond what any other human being can actually give us. It's not like, see, unless a person's spiritual body is activated, they cannot connect us with God. So this is why we see, we cannot help but see this now, because the world is quite small. We're living at a time when there's internet and there's high-speed transportation where we can fly to India in not more than a day. And it's just an overnight journey now, which would be impossible in any other. People don't. We have so much access to social intercourse where we can benefit from the experiences of other cultures and how they've developed their spiritual relationship with God. See, so those who have such experiences can basically understand their own religions better by letting other cultures contribute to them when they become ready and open to do that. Okay? So the Vaishnava path from India has contributed my understanding of what the Bible is talking about. It's a more expanded understanding how Jesus can connect anyone who believes in him to God. But yet you can read so many stories of saints in India who have genuinely connected people with God also, because they were actually already connected themselves. They could activate the spiritual body of other persons. I mean, the same qualities that we hear about in amongst the Christians and the way they transmitted this connection with God is, you could read about it in the Vaishnava literatures of saints who actually have connected other people where they've had devotional spiritual experiences. See? So this is, anybody who takes their head out of the sand can see that. Anyway, there's a lot of reasons why we don't see it, because basically, if you believe the sectarian views that are actually in most all scriptures, then you become blind to the real principles of truth, or the essence, like the universal connection of truth. You just can't see that because you're blinded by sectarian preaching, or sectarian interpretation of the scriptures, that try to monopolize how God is working through one particular religion or group. I mean, this is, you lose the sense of unity that's running through everything, whether it's religious or not religious. Everything is connected. Everything, even science is coming to this place of seeing that. Okay. So, All such activities of the Lord were incomprehensible to Mother Sachi. So in great awe, with folded hands, she prayed for the shelter of Lord Govinda. The time had dawned when Lord Chaitanya was to reveal his real identity, and the entire universe swayed with the waves of joy. You know, one thing that's another really important point to learn about Bhakti. If you ever meet ecstatic devotees who experience states of bliss, rapture, ecstasy, it's because they have deep faith in these particular manifestations of of the devotees of God that are sent here. Okay? Either they have this naturally inherent in their heart, this deep faith in them, that you have to look from previous lives probably, like there's some relationship developed where there's faith in their heart for this, because those who have deep faith in, like Jesus, or like Lord Chaitanya or Krishna, they're going to have ecstatic spiritual experiences. Okay? If you take shelter like that, like those kinds of devotees, and the way we learn this is by being close to devotees who have this kind of faith, because that's how ecstasy is produced. The other day I read in Chaitanya Mangal, remember that, where Rukmini was saying those who have faith in Krishna, they develop devotional ecstasy. So that, like, this goes for, like, I can have a lot of Christian friends on Facebook who are very ecstatic, man. They have so much faith in Jesus that they go ballistic in ecstasy. I mean, to the point of we can see that many manifestations that many of these Christians have are like what we have seen in the times of Lord Chaitanya. More so than you'll see amongst Vaishnavas at that point. Because this is because of their deep faith in a personality like Jesus. See? So that's how this ecstasy is produced, is deep faith in the person of God, the personality of Godhead, or the person devotee, the personality of the devotee, as being really true. It's like, that's what produces this kind of experience. Okay? And if we don't have that kind of faith, or that kind of ecstasy is not developed, then just being close to devotees who relish the name, the fame, the pastimes, and the qualities, which are all transcendental, with great faith and are ecstatic, being close to them, then one becomes naturally raised and liberated, and starts to initiate these waves of union and separation. See, and this gradually deepens more and more and more forever. See, so there's a beautiful statement about this in Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is paraphrased. The devotees, a fallen conditioned soul, that's basically a person who hasn't developed spiritual consciousness yet, can be eternally liberated by associating with the devotees who are licking the honey from the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya, licking the honey of the lotus feet of Jesus even. See, it's an intoxicating, like bees. They use the word honey and bees a lot in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, because bees, they go for the honey, and they become intoxicated. See, that's bhakti. That's faith in a devotee. This is the universal purport of when Jesus said, "Those who come to me, He said, I am the bread of life. See, those who come to me, I will not turn away." That's those who come in a surrendered mood to the Lord and the Lord's devotee. They don't turn them away. You don't have to be any qualification other than faith. See? I am the bread of life. And this is why Jesus very intelligently used this word bread, because bread stands for life, for sustenance, nurturing, energy, see, to live. See? And he said, I'm the bread of life. He's not just any ordinary bread. He's this spiritual bread. See? And those who are eating that, they become very ecstatic. Those who believe that statement, see, believe that word. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. See, so this is a very true statement. So all the devotees are like this. They're the bread of life because they're eating that bread. And we become liberated by being close to devotees like that. Of course, if you find living devotees who are tasting this kind of ecstasy, then you get it very easily. There are a lot of Christians who are relishing this ecstatic bhakti, and they just go around, and whoever comes in the group, if they have faith in this, they get it very quickly. Sometimes the same day. Some, after more time, they start to really desire it, and then it starts to come. You have to want it. You have to be open to it. So Sriman Pandit was extremely happy when he saw this wonderful transformation in the Lord, his extraordinary love of Godhead. The devotees, as usual, went early in the morning to pick flowers. Srinivasa's house was a jasmine tree, which was like a wish-fulfilling desire tree. As many flowers were picked from that tree. The tree was never empty of flowers. Well, you can go end it. I ain't ending it yet. A good place to end the class. It's just beginning, man. She is such a. I can't believe it. I'm just starting to begin. She says it's a good place to end. Oh my God. Well, it's not the finale yet. Let's give it a few more minutes at least here. It's like it's like when you start to eat something really juicy, and then somebody goes and they want to grab it and take it away from you. No way, man. So the devotees, as usual, met during the flower picking, and they exchanged words and topics on Krishna and his wonderful pastimes. And every morning, they Gadadhar, Gopinath, and Ram and Srinivas, enjoyed each other's company. Just then, Sriman Pandit came laughing with joy, and everyone greeted him, saying, "Why are you so happy today?" Sriman said. "Oh, certainly there must be a reason." So they asked, "Why do you not say it?" Sriman Pandit began. "Then hear the reason. Something most wonderful and most impossible has happened. Nimai Pandit has become a great Vaishnava devotee. I heard that he had returned from Gaya, so I went in the evening to meet him. He spoke with everyone with a humble and very detached air, and he did not show the slightest sign of arrogance or insolence. Then alone he took us aside and began telling us about his pilgrimage and about Lord Krishna. As soon as he took the name of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna and Padmanabha Tirtha pilgrimage, his eyes flooded with tears of love of Godhead." Okay, I'll stop here. I can't go overboard. I can, but I'm not. Okay. thank you all for joining the class and the talk about Bhakti. I hope everyone appreciates devotional service and its meaning, and we'll go more into this and fluff out this subject more and make it as clear as we can of the value of devotional service, because it's actually very, very important for the evolvement of humanity. Okay? Okay? So thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.